You have a copy of the agenda?
I can print one for you. See, I have it open. I was ready.
Okay, well, with the 7:06.
Okay.
First item on the agenda, while we're waiting it to print, first item on the agenda is review and consider approving prior minutes. There are none prepared at this time. Dan, 8 Mill River final commitment.
Yep, there's stuff to sign. I can bring it over.
Yeah, please. I see we have Tim on the meeting with us tonight, huh?
Yeah, don't get up.
Final commitment for 8 Mill River.
Oh, is that what we signed?
Yeah, you signed it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
3 whitewater bills, and then there's 2 more once I come back here.
Did Alan call in?
Not yet.
Okay.
That's for good. If you guys don't mind, I would just ask for permission to sign. So there's an Amazon invoice that we're waiting on for a hydrant wrench and another hydrant wrench for it's going to be $60 in total. And our last one, we got a lot of stuck hydrant caps.
Okay,
So I figure I better buy a backup.
and what was the second
And
one?
then the other one is the fire department is ordering us an adapter for the hydrant flushing. It's $80 to go from the 4.5 to 2.5, so I can use that hitch mounted thing.
Okay.
Just
Finn, would you make a motion to allow
wait.
Dan to sign on our behalf? Those 2 bills.
Yes, I make a motion that Dan Byers sign
The Amazon and fire department invoices.
Firematic if you want.
the Amazon and Firematic invoices on behalf of the Board of Water Commissioners.
Okay, I second, since you made the motion, we're both in favor.
Unanimous. Aye.
Unanimous of 2.
Just look at the agenda here. Good.
Okay, 49 Milford Street water. Tim, that's obviously why you're here.
No, sir, I'm just here to listen to see what you had to say about it.
Okay. My recollection of this,
Let me find the emails so I can just
Okay.
recap everything. I don't know if he was coming. Give me a second here.
all right, is my recollection correct that we wanted the building inspector, before he gave an occupancy permit, to enforce the completion of the work?
Yeah, well, so I spoke with Chris as well. Apparently, they put in a new water service
Yeah,
at a fire line,
yeah.
and they had a permit, and apparently they did that under Hopedale's whatever permit number. And now they've closed that all up, and Tim would like them to remove the old 1-inch line.
Which would entail opening the street again.
Right. Chris is saying that wasn't part of the initial conditions. And that unfortunately, what complicates it though is apparently that line was never connected, which we didn't realize last month. According to Chris, that's just a stub that was done when all these issues were put in,
Okay.
and they never connected. They just had a well because they didn't really care because it was just a garden center.
Was there a connection fee that was paid?
I don't
At the
know
time?
if it was. It would have been. He says no, but it would have been paid to Hopedale, I believe. That was so far ago.
Tim, Mr. Kevin, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You still want that old line taken out, correct?
So I didn't plan this. I sent emails to everybody. I believe I CC'd you. I've spoken to Mass DOT. This is really kind of a messy situation, but needless to say that your board and my board met, and I don't know the year. It was during COVID when we first started Zoom. And we allowed the fire service connection in a 1-inch service line. They utilized Hopedale's SHARPS program through Mass DOT in Mendon and pushed this application through and tapped a 2-inch and a 6-inch. We're too far past that, so obviously we got the 2-inch. But speak with Mass DOT and how we work in Hopedale, that if you put in a new line, the old line needs to be shut off at the core. Why is that important is that if they don't, it's activated now from the main to the curb in front of their property, the old original line, regardless of tie-in fees or anything of that nature. It's just sitting there stagnant. If that line leaks, it becomes a responsibility of the town of Mendon and the town of Hopedale to fix and repair under Mass DOT specs for reconstruction.
Finally, I'm here.
So we do this with every contractor in town. Whereas they're abandoning an old service, we make them shut it off at the core.
And it's
What
in
you
your,
have,
Tim, it's in your rules and regs, right?
right,
Okay, and
Correct.
so since he's bound by their rules and regs.
Yeah, I think, so now he's looking for the water to be turned on. Hopedale told him to talk to Mendon. And so as somebody, right, so I think if we're saying
My
that
understanding
we want
is
that line pulled out because it's a liability.
we have to follow Hopedale's rules and regs whenever we do something with their water lines. Okay? He got approved through, what I'm trying to say is, Hopedale's governs the Route 16 line, correct?
Yeah, I mean,
So he has to follow their rules. It's that simple.
the question, and I asked you this, it seems like this shouldn't be that, it kind of sucks, but can't they just go in right where it is with a vac truck? Like, they don't need to do this massive construction project to just pull out that tap and close it off, right?
absolutely. It's a 4x3 hole, dig down 4 feet, turn off the core.
Yeah, no, Tim's right on that. You cannot, you're gonna have to actually
Okay.
excavate a good sized hole. But my question is, how old is the service line?
20 years?
It's
Is
been
it 20
sitting there, correct. So it's been sitting there live from main to curb, which is in front of the building.
Since the 90s.
Nothing happening to it. Obviously,
So Tim, how old is Tim, how old is it exactly? And then what is the material? If it's plastic, I don't see the need to really go out there and.
no, it's copper,
raise that line. Is it
Copper.
copper?
yes.
So he's got a 2-inch copper line,
No, he's got an original 1-inch copper line.
1-inch copper line. Okay.
He installed a new 2-inch and 6-inch copper line. Their engineering firm opened up a DOT permit in the town of Mendon under Hopedale's account. In reality, if that line leaks, I can't even work in Mendon. In the
No, I
way
get
the-
it. I
Right,
get it.
and the
I
way the
get it.
contract works, you and I, your town and our town are paying for them not complying to this.
No, I get it. I just don't want to open up a road, especially this time. You're not going to open a road this time of
Well,
year.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
gonna-
Mass DOT has been very good with us, allowed us to extend the permit to include this work. So Mass DOT is in total agreement with us.
All right, well,
So you, hold on one sec, Kev. I got one more question.
okay.
So so we're just talking a service line. You're talking a 1-inch service line. That's it.
Correct.
You're not going to do anything with that 6-inch line because he's probably got ductile iron pipe or C900 pipe in the ground there, right?
The 6-inch is fine, it's been pressure tested, chlorinated, the 2-inch line is fine, that's going into the building.
Okay.
I'm just telling you, I will not turn the water on until the 1-inch is off, period.
Okay. I get it. Okay. I'm in total agreement with that
Okay,
then.
the
Okay.
sensitivity here, obviously, and Vin, you may not know it, is, we've had massive lawsuits against the town because of what the building's going to be used for.
Yeah.
And the town foolishly trying to restrict it years ago. And that's probably making people gun shy, but I look at it as simple black and white, which is he's operating under Hopedale's rules, and Hopedale's rules require the line removed, so he's got to remove it. DOT is keeping the permit open. Yeah, it's some extra cost for him, but whoever he engaged to put it in didn't look at the rules close enough.
Kind of seems like some funny business was done with this. 'Cause
There's a,
they had to come to
there's
us.
a,
Permit,
there's a whole lot.
done,
Well, I'm not
whether
gonna,
it was intentional or not, I don't know, but.
I agree with you on that, but I gotta set that issue aside. What it comes down to, in my view, is they, whether accidentally or deliberately, did not follow Hopedale's rules on this, and we have to make them follow it. And not just us, because he's not getting his water turned on unless he rips out the line.
I agree.
And whether it costs him extra money, it's not a concern here to me. The rules are the rules.
Well, that's what I'm saying with you. I think, unfortunately, because things weren't done with the process, this was omitted.
And if
now
it's
it has
up to us
fixed,
to
it
tell
sounds
them,
like.
then let's tell them. I don't see the problem here, other than the fact there's a sensitivity in the town of Mendon by many people because there have been massive lawsuits over the strip club. But the fact of the matter is, the guy didn't follow the rules, and I'm going to be generous and say, whether it was accidental or somebody overlooked it or didn't look at the rules, it's got to be done. And if it costs the guy an extra $1,000, well, it costs him an extra $1,000 to hire a guy with a mini backhoe, dig it up and terminate it. So I don't see the issue here other than we have to send him a letter.
I believe at that point, that's where things have lied. I mean, as I said, I told him we were meeting, I wish he would attend.
We do have somebody on the line.
I think that's Alan. Oh, there's somebody else, okay, I don't know who that is, but.
Yeah.
So I just want to ask one more question. So there is a 2-inch domestic line that runs parallel with the 6-inch fire line already in the ground?
From
Yeah.
what it was explained to me, they put the new line in like 50 feet away from where the old line was because they picked them up so they're not, they have to open up a new spot to close.
So this 1-inch line is just the third line that was put in years ago
Yeah,
for something
I
different?
believe they stubbed out all these properties.
Okay.
When the main went up 16 in the 90s,
And then
we stubbed out all the properties and it ended, well, actually, this part that got taken out. The main went in and then each property was stubbed out. Let's leave it at that.
Right.
And that was it.
Which makes sense,
And
yeah.
then if, at the time, if Hopedale allowed the connection, then the connections were made. And
I think they stubbed out all
Oak Tree
the
Gardens,
properties and-
Oakdale Gardens wasn't allowed to connect because, Tim, if my memory serves me right, only homes were connected back then.
No,
Because-
sir. No, sir. What had happened was that when the town of Hopedale and town of Mendon got together and the line was run down, all
Yeah.
the residents had a certain amount of time to tie in.
Okay.
And if they tied in, then they were included in the contract of a certain, so back in the day, they requested to tie in, and they did. Now, I can't go back, or I'm sure I can, but, so that line was tied into the property line. The
Okay.
business owners at that time did not connect to it, but it was still put to the property. So you have a number of different lots there that didn't take advantage of this, and they're too late now.
Right.
But they did do everything right at that point in time. So
Right,
when this new facility came in and you met with my board, it was discussed that for the fire service in a 1-inch service line. And
Yeah.
this is where things got cloudy, because who said what, where, and how, when.
But the main issue, Tim, is you want that 1-inch line removed.
Otherwise, it's your responsibility and my, or the town of Hopedale's responsibility if something happens to it.
Comments?
Yeah, no, I agree, because right now we've got leverage. We're not going to provide him water. We're not going to put a water meter in there until he meets all our requirements as requested by both the town of Hopedale and the town of Mendon. I agree.
Alan, any thoughts on this?
Well, if I remember right, the water main is on the northwest side of the street. Is that correct?
Correct?
Is there any problem with digging up the street, or is it's shut off back far enough so that they don't have to dig up the street?
They only have to dig down where the connection is at the main. So approximately a 4x3 hole in the north side of the road. It's not a total cross the street issue.
Okay, good.
No, Alan, we gotta dig that up at the main, because it's a time bomb if you just leave it. And then chances are you'll end up with a leak in the middle of January, and you gotta dig it up and cut it off then.
Okay,
On
Especially
our
mean-
time,
they're about to
Hmm.
repave the entire road.
yeah.
so are we three in agreement to send him a letter basically saying no water till you fix it?
Yes, I'm in agreement with that.
Alan, you agree with that?
Yes, I agree.
Okay, we have unanimous consent to send whichever Fenari it is, Chris Fenari?
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably just call him back.
I want it writing.
Yeah, put it in writing.
Given the history of the site, I'd like it in writing, Dan, that he's got to take care of whatever the technical term is, removing, shutting off, turning off, whatever it is, that 1-inch copper line, and he can't get water service until he does that, because that's what Hopedale's rules and regs say, and he's bound by them in this case. And there's also a liability to the towns of Hopedale and Mendon if it's not removed.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yeah,
if you just put in your letter that you agree with the town of Hopedale's position on the termination of the
absolutely.
existing service.
And Tim, do you want a timeline in there? Other than?
No, again, I don't care when they get water. It doesn't matter to me.
Okay,
I won't turn that wrench until it's,
okay, then we need the phrase in there that he's not getting, Hopedale will not turn the water on until he does this.
and I have already indicated that to them.
Okay, that was that one.
Okay.
Thank
You
you,
all
sir.
set, Tim?
Thank you, board. Have a great night.
You too, Tim.
You too. 147, 149 Hartford Avenue, that's where the gas station's going in?
Yep. So the issue here, and this is my fault, this was supposed to be in our last meeting.
Well, we didn't have a quorum.
It wasn't even on the agenda. I think I forgot to bring it up.
Well, whatever.
So Harry O., the property owner, has reached out expressing his frustration over being billed for water services that he's unable to use. He's requesting the service to be disconnected,
Both of them.
both of them. And this is kind of a weird gray area in our contract. My only thought on it is the way we've revised our connection fees, we are requiring that a new connection has to pay the back fees up to a maximum. So if we stopped billing him and he wanted to connect in 10 years, we'd get our money eventually.
Okay, but wait a minute. What's he gonna do? Put in a well?
He has no choice. Hopedale will not allow commercial use.
Oh, I just.
Okay, he's already started the process for permitting a public water supply for the gas station.
Okay,
Sorry, I should have added.
so he wants to remove the two connections. And technically, when he removes them, we lose them under the contract. They're gone forever.
I mean, yeah, the contract is vague on that. I mean, I would have to imagine if there was a future situation that the property were, but because it's not residential, it's, this is a new use, so you're starting over.
Well, it's gone from residential to commercial. It's zoned for commercial. He's not allowed to connect. So what, he doesn't want to pay his fees?
Yeah, I mean, he's been, we're billing in perpetuity these capital fees and
Well, then
for
tell
a
him,
connection they can't use.
tell him turn him off.
Well, what?
Then we turn him off and stop billing him.
I mean, let me just find well, I don't know if,
And if you,
I don't know if we are formally telling Hopedale, take it out of the contract. We're just saying, we're no longer going to bill you, but if you want to reactivate it, you're going to have to pay all those back fees, which I think is already in our regulations.
we can't reactivate it.
Right, well, you can't even build a house there because of the zoning, but let's say the
No,
zoning
no, no, no.
changes.
He can't reactivate because it's no longer a residential use and it's not a use that would have gone in a house. He's building a brand new gas station convenience store.
Correct.
So once they're gone, they're gone.
Right, well, at this point, unless we magically get town water, there's, that's not going to change, so.
Right, so I mean, to me, the issue is he has to pay his bills. And we close them off.
What are we what's he in the rears on? Is there water
He's not.
usage?
There's no water usage, it hasn't been water. So one of those, there were two lots that were legally combined into one, so 149 is not a legal tax parcel anymore. was just 147.
Yeah.
But they left the 2 connections, and for years, they have been paying just the impact fees on that connection. I think because of the hope of some future development.
Yeah, well, remember he wanted to put multiple houses in.
Right, that was at one point, I mean, I think at this point,
Basically, the guy bought the land and he's been looking for use to make the land profitable.
but this, yeah, this is, and this really the same discussion point with the gentleman on the corner, that, you know, we're basically billing him for a water connection he can't legally use.
Yeah, I get that. It's kind
I mean,
of,
we do, so we have, like I said, our existing connection reactivation, it's $100 a year since the date of the last payment to the department with a maximum of 1,000.
So,
So if in some
okay,
future situation, they build a new house there and want water, they're gonna have to pay all this money that they're not paying now anyway.
right, okay, but in terms of this, we close the connections out. We bill them for whatever it costs to close them out.
Right, well, it's already been turned off because the house is demoed.
Okay,
So we would stop
Well-
billing the capital fees.
absolutely.
Question,
Yeah,
if I remember, there's actually 3 properties there. Two of them, well, on the tax map, they all have addresses on Hartford Avenue East.
yeah, there's,
The,
right, there's 3.
The former house though goes with the Skinner property, the first one going down the line.
Yeah, it's 143, 145, and
Yeah.
147.
143 is now part of the Skinner lot, the corner lot,
Right,
and 147 and 149 are being made into the gas station.
right. 149 doesn't exist. It's the house number for the house that was demolished.
Okay, well, that property.
Yeah, there's 3 lots and 4 connections. So I think the request is to just turn off the billing on all 4 of them with the understanding that those connections are discontinued. There's no guarantee they'll be there in the future,
Right.
but I guess they're not gonna be able to use them anyway.
Well, wait a minute, the Skinner and adjacent lot. Until we know what they're building, technically, those are residential lots.
Yeah, except the zoning doesn't allow, so that's,
Yes, it does.
no, it's no residential use in highway business. And he tore the houses down. It's been more than 2 years. They're,
Has he asked to be shut off?
so he has not. He is interested in the update, and I know Jack Hunter is trying to facilitate meetings with Hopedale, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Jack yet. But on the current status, the request that's before us right now was just Harry Onesian for 147, 149.
Then I said, let's just do Harry since he asked.
yeah. I just want to be clear. So under the agreement we have with Hopedale, if a residential house gets disconnected from the system and it's in a commercially zoned area, we cannot provide water that, we cannot use that same service connection.
Unless the business use that is built is something that at the time would be allowed in a house in our zoning at the time the contract was first
It had to
signed.
exist. It can't be new business use.
Correct.
So if you tear your house down and turn it into a gas station.
So for
you're
instance,
SOL.
If I
But if you
turn
build a
my,
new house, you're okay.
if I turn my house on 140 into some kind of home-based business, I'm allowed to remain. But if I tear it down and say, put in a fast food joint, they don't get the water.
Right.
Right, like a home business occupation, so if you wanted to have a law office.
Yeah.
Right, that's allowed,
Okay.
but you could not convert your house into a completely new commercial use, and that's where where
Right,
all these
well,
things are
I
solved.
would say, let's kill the connections for Harry and stop billing him, for Harry Onesian on the 147 site, which includes 149, the old 149.
Like the 2 lots there.
Yeah, and wait until the, what is it, Paramount Properties,
Yeah, I don't know.
which owns the Skinner lot and the adjacent one on Hartford Avenue, wait until he squawks. I'm not gonna cut off a fee just because we did the guy who asked. I'm not gonna cut everybody off.
Yeah, and I'll follow up with Jack. I know there was some discussion related to the new meter pit and all that, but I
I
don't know
mean,
what
it's-
the status of any of that is.
Everybody agreed with that? We cut off the guy who asked, but not, let's not voluntarily cut off the one who didn't.
I agree with that.
Alan, you okay with
Yep,
that?
agree. Yep.
Okay, so now we're up to Vin with update on the water sewer study.
All right. So I should have made a copy of the report. Do you have a copy of the report?
I mean, I can put that slideshow up on the thing if you want. It just means it becomes entered into the public. Well, they did it last night, didn't they?
Yeah. His presentation last night was a lot less
why don't we just give us the highlights? You know, we don't have to get into the minutia.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get into the minutiae.
My understanding in a broader sense is they found water on one property and they want to look at it more in depth.
Yeah, well, it'd go a little bit more than that. They actually did
Could you?
they did two test wells.
Okay.
They did one test well over near the highway department, inadequate supply, so they says, all right, let's move on. So they went further down on Providence Road. I think it's 314 Providence Road, 214 Providence Road. Town-owned property. It's kind of landlocked, but there is an easement to get in there, right along the river. Anyway, very promising, both in quantity and water quality. Sufficient enough where it will provide all of phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 of what was determined in the initial part of their study.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a really good source.
And do we have, is there enough, what was the next step? Was there money left in the grant to explore it further, or what was the?
Yeah, there is, I don't know what the balance is for the grant money. That's something that Jack's gonna have to provide us. But Jack's been doing a pretty good job managing it anyways. Yeah, so they did an initial 4-hour test and everything looked good. But in order to get DEP approval, there needs to be like a 4-day test where they're gonna do extensive pumping. They're gonna have to do some satellite wells around the initial well just to kind of see the water table as they're running that big production well for a length of time to see how it impacts the area. And if that all goes well, then,
It's still meaningless unless you build a system.
well, yeah, but in order to get DEP approval, just for a production well, I was telling the
10
select board
years.
last night, 7 to 10 year process.
Yeah.
You're right on, Kev, right. But bottom line is, I think it's a really, really good opportunity for the town to develop this source, because ultimately, it allows us the opportunity to get off Hopedale's water supply. You know, we could produce enough water for the town's needs with this one site. Now, you're right,
Which system is still in line is part of our contract, just to keep looking for water.
correct. Yep. Now, as you just alluded to, Kev, we don't have the infrastructure in place. You know, not just putting that well in, but then you've also got to construct a tank, and then you got to construct water main in order to push the water up to the tank in order to give us the pressure that we need in order to maintain the system.
Okay,
Yes.
now,
So there's a whole bunch of work that needs to be done. But first things first is let's develop this source, or let's look into this a little
Okay.
bit further. Some of the low-hanging fruit that we can go after right now, I don't know if you're aware of it, some of the things that we could be doing right now, the select board asked the water commissioners to at least initiate this, was to do a water protection overlay district.
It would have been awfully nice had they invited us to their meeting last night.
Well, they did.
No, they didn't.
Well, I was at the meeting, the presentation that was put on by Woodward and Curran, and Mr. Morelli had asked me, because I was in attendance at that meeting virtually, and he had asked if I could attend the Board of Selectmen's meeting to kind of present this report. I asked Scott Salucci, or Savucci, whatever Scott's last name is, because he's a subject matter expert on this whole study, if he could attend as well. He did. So we had a good meeting last night. And Jack was there as well, so.
I know you were invited in a non-formal, non-board meeting. You're missing my point,
Go ahead, Kev.
okay? My point is, we're the elected board that would be in charge of this.
Yeah.
And the select board is continuing their pattern of ignoring that fact. Inviting one member is not inviting the board. If I didn't religiously read their agenda, I would not have known of that meeting.
Right.
And I would have attended last night's meeting, but I had a 6-month-old commitment that I absolutely positively could not break. The board officially was not invited by the Board of Selectmen.
Well, it was, yeah, I suppose.
And I know I'm drawing a fine
informal.
line here between
Yeah.
them saying to you, bring the water commission. He may be temporary. There's a seasoned town administrator who should know better. Okay, the chairman of the select board has been a longtime town official, and chaired the FinCom before his current term on this. They know the things. You know, And I could argue this till I'm blue in the face, but the fact of the matter is, they continue to lock us out on stuff unless we scream and yell.
Yeah, I don't see it that way, Cal,
No,
because Dan was in attendance at the presentation, the week prior.
I mean, I
So
think,
so Dan, I don't know if you would relate to Kevin, and Alan about last night's select board's meeting. I could have reached out as well, I don't know, but.
I did not, I should have sent more information,
Yeah.
that's my fault. I do think Kevin's right, like, they see, they got very excited and wanted to jump to a presentation of the select board, which is great, but to take a step back and say, we need to invite all the relevant parties, maybe this
Right.
needs to wait a week. And
Yeah.
I should have said something at that meeting on Sunday, and said, hey,
I
Mike,
mean,
let's wait
if you're
2
talking
weeks.
about an overlay
I didn't even
protection
think about
district,
it.
the first thing that comes to mind is, okay, where's the Conservation Commission? Where's the planning board and the zoning board? Because if it's a zoning bylaw, that has to go through the planning board. And I'm just saying, there's a process to do this that gets everybody on board, instead of everybody feeling, why was I left out?
I get it. So-
I have no problem beg, borrowing, stealing the best water protection zone overlay from surrounding towns, because you don't have to invent the wheel these days.
Okay.
They're all out there, you just tailor it to the geography.
I do have an update for that.
I do too.
So, but let's go on. I mean, I'm Johnny one note, as my mother would say, banging the hammer every time, but it's a fundamental point with me, having served on the select board and many, many other boards for a 40-year period. You invite all the relevant boards. You don't do things in isolation because we're the select gods.
Yeah, no, I get it.
That's my
I
only
get it.
comment.
So just to talk a little bit more about last night's presentation, it was really from a 50,000-foot view, very, very brief description. We didn't get into any of the real details, because there's a lot more details that need to be discussed, that it was just not brought up at last night's meeting, because we didn't want to sound the alarm on some of the other issues that may come up with
There's
this.
some stuff that's gonna have to.
Dan,
be
you know what I'm talking
negotiated.
about.
Major question. Has anybody done the water testing yet? And does it need to be treated beyond merely sand filter and chlorinated?
Yes, Alan, there was a water quality test that was done. pH actually was up around 6.8, which was surprisingly good. But yeah, the other thing I can tell you, there was no PFAS at all detected. Everything was non-detect as far as PFAS goes. Iron and manganese, though, was up around 10 milligrams per liter.
Normal in Mendon.
That's normal everywhere for New England groundwater, to be honest with you. So that will require treatment, Alan.
Okay.
And regardless of the fact that it's groundwater, you'd have to do chlorination there as well. So you're looking at green sand filtration for the iron and manganese, either sodium hypo or something, chlorine gas for the disinfection. And then I don't know if Hopedale provides fluoride in their water. If they do, fluoridation would also be something that would be looking to treat with the water as well. So yes.
So right now, they have something that looks promising, but need to do further testing.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
The other issue I want to bring up with it that was brought up at the first meeting,
all right, go ahead.
I'm sorry,
And I'll bring something, I'm sorry,
Okay, go
didn't
ahead.
mean to interrupt.
was Zone 1. We don't own, not all of Zone 1 was
Right.
within
That
the
we might
property
not want to dive into in a public meeting, though.
Right.
I just don't
And
want.
I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, okay.
So we'll just leave it at that.
All right. What I'd like to see is that we invite these guys, or at least Jack Hunter, to a future meeting so we can get a more in-depth update if we need one. But I mean, obviously, or even ask the guys from Woodward Curran to pop in on a Zoom call for 10 minutes
Yeah, I've been trying to connect with
and
Jack.
just tell
but
us
he's
the
out
next
sick.
steps.
Yeah.
It was nice when they got done with phase 1, we had a giant meeting with all the boards and everybody could share info and ask questions.
Yeah.
And then at least you felt comfortable knowing where it stood. Because you know, I know a lot of people in town, and I have people stop me all the time on my street, because we're connected, asking me what's going on with the study. And I have to tell them, I look like an idiot.
Well, Kev, in all due respect, we're all invited to the presentation, and I know you couldn't go because you had a prior obligation, and I said I can attend remotely. That was actually a very productive meeting with them. They did a really
No,
nice job
but
with the
the meeting
presentation.
last week, we were specifically asked not to have a board quorum at it.
Oh, we only.
Yeah, that was where I think things are getting, because initially we were told
I
they
didn't
wanted
know
to.
You know, I see my name and your name on there,
And
but
they
once
didn't.
you said you could get on the phone, I dropped out from being on
Yeah,
it.
and I peppered them with a lot of
Specifically-
questions
Right.
too.
Specifically because we were told by the chairman of selectmen, Dan was told, they did not want a quorum of any board there, so it didn't have to be posted. So I dropped off when you said, originally
attend.
you said you couldn't go, and then I said, I can do it.
Right.
And I was actually gonna come here physically.
Right.
And then once you got on and said you can do it, I thought, well, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm not gonna.
That's the problem with having.
Well, there would have been the same
structure.
thing
We don't
last
have
night. You
staff.
would have had it posted.
Not
You
necessarily.
can attend it, but the problem is, because we're elected, any two of you can't be at one of those meetings without it being a public meeting.
Right, you gotta post it and all that
So I
crap.
think, and I'm not sure Woodward and Kern fully recognize it, but like you said, they should be a
Just to
mechanism
tell
to
you,
provide you with updates.
just to tell you how absurd that was, where I was last night was at the county assessor's annual meeting. Okay, we only have two assessors in this town right now. Ken went representing Uxbridge, I went representing Mendon. We couldn't sit at the same table because it would be an illegal meeting, even though nobody was discussing business.
So,
But at any rate, you had a point about the overlay?
So I have not had time to talk to Jack. Jack was out sick, and I have not connected with him yet. So DEP, there's a model document from DEP. We actually don't really have to do any work, just fill in the blanks.
Okay.
However, Jack thinks we may be able to accomplish what we want with a Board of Health regulation and not need any bylaw whatsoever, which would be awesome, because I think zoning bylaw would be very complicated. A general bylaw would be easier. The issue, and I guess I brought this up at the meeting, at some point, there's going to be something that's going to go to a town meeting vote that will be the referendum on water, and we want to make sure that
Okay. And
everything has been shared that needs to be shared, and everybody
my
knows what we're voting
my
on.
response back is a general bylaw has no teeth. Zoning, it's still 2/3 of the town. Zoning has teeth in it that really protects things. A general bylaw can be ignored. Let's just look at Mr. Fenari. Somehow pipes went in and a pipe didn't get out. Confusion, whatever, didn't look at the rules. A general bylaw, I don't know anything about it. What are you gonna do? Fine me $100? Take me to small claims court? The zoning bylaw has teeth.
Yeah, I don't know enough about, that's what I want to meet with Jack on the
I
different
do.
options. The problem is, if we do a zoning bylaw, it's gonna have a planning board hearing, so you're
Yep.
gonna have a massive planning board hearing that's gonna be all about town water,
No,
not
it's
about the
not.
bylaw.
No, it's not.
And then that's my only concern.
It's not gonna be a referendum on town water. It's gonna be a referendum on protecting a future resource on one point of property. It has nothing to do with whether or not we have town water, because we're so far away from that right now. That referendum would be coming down the road maybe 10, as you said, 8, 9, 10 years.
Right.
When somebody comes up with a cost of building the whole system out, that's when you have a referendum, because you're borrowing money to build it. Right now, to say, per our contract with Hopedale, we need to explore sites every year, this is one that has the potential, and we need to protect it.
no
Period.
question. It just, I don't see a
It's
lot
how
of
you frame
pushback
it
on
to
this
people.
either. You're protecting a public water supply source in town that would be able to provide
And quite-
us
quite
water and get
honestly,
off of somebody else's system.
It would be a rare example in this town of planning for the future.
Ah,
And anybody that brought up making a referendum on water system, I look at them and say, no, you're framing it incorrectly. We're protecting a possible future water source in a resource area for the region. Because let's say we never have the money to develop it, okay? And create a water system, but we got water in there. What prevents us from selling it to nearby community looking for more water?
right. And the other thing too, I think it's gonna be regulatory for us anyways. In order to get DEP approval
yeah.
for a water source,
But whatever they
we've gotta
vote.
have a bylaw in place before they'll before they'll issue us a
Well,
permit.
yeah, either way, I
For
can
the well.
meet with Jack and find out, but I think the request would be that the water board ultimately prepare and sponsor this, whatever it is.
Right, and we
potentially
take it,
pending.
and we take it to the planning board,
Um,
and we explain to them, we're looking at protecting one source, one piece of land identified as a possible future water source, whether for us or the region. That's all we're trying to do. And you know, it can always be removed.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I wouldn't say the region, I'd say the town.
Tim's gonna say.
Does this include the private property that's adjacent or not?
No,
The way I understood, the bylaw or the source?
Say again?
What was your question? Does what include?
my law.
This, I don't know what the right word is. This bylaw or
I
zoning
think it's a
bylaw,
region. So it's
overlay
basically,
district,
It's a circular.
yeah,
thing
it's
around it.
basically saying that you can't have, an underground storage tank or a massive, whatever,
It's a
polluting
re-
something in the
It's a
area.
residential
Right.
zone. You're actually strengthening those homeowners' rights to not get polluted.
Right,
That's
that's,
how you frame the discussion.
that's true.
Tim, you had a question?
Yes, sir. Just to let you know, gone through this in Hopedale. We have both bylaws and a Board of Health groundwater protection regulation. A groundwater protection regulation, takes precedent over a bylaw, and a groundwater protection regulation through the Board of Health does not need town meeting approval.
That's true. Well, I'd still shoot for both, to tell you the truth, in that case.
So
But one supersedes the other, so
Okay.
that's where you go. In the Board of Health regulation supersedes. But they should mirror themselves and be consistent.
Thank you, Tim.
So I've got a copy, I provided a copy for everybody that's here tonight. Alan, I got you one, but unfortunately you're not here, I can send it to you.
Is that just the DEP one?
This is an overlay district bylaw from the town of Sudbury, that I've taken Sudbury out and put Mendon in, and you'll see up top, it's just a draft bylaw. So within this overlay district, it also includes added protection for Zone 1. So Alan, it kind of asked about this, does include budding property? So within Zone 1, there are a lot more restrictions in a Zone 1 area than there is in the overlay district. Zone 1, you can't do anything within there, because that's within a 200-foot radius of a public water supply.
All right.
But outside of that, I've got this draft that I provided for everybody.
Good, obviously, like to read through it, so.
Yeah, it's pretty lengthy,
uh,
but ultimately, did our friend over here get one as well? Yeah, no,
Oh, he's got it.
okay, good.
Hey, Tim, would you be willing to share your Board of Health regulations with us?
Dan, can you give one of these over?
I'm
to-
sorry, absolutely, and
And
it's
I've got it
online,
electronic.
but I'll
I've
forward on,
got it in
No,
Word
if it's online,
document
we'll
too,
get it there.
okay?
no, I'll forward the bylaw as well as the, Board of Health regulation to Dan.
Thank you, Tim, I appreciate that.
Okay.
All right, do we have anything else on this we want to discuss right now?
So that was all in the drinking water, the wastewater part of it.
Is,
There's been some discussions with Hopedale. I don't know if Tim was involved with this or.
I think that was that initial meeting they had.
That's a-
Yeah, but ultimately, there's no change on the wastewater at all.
that's one person's pipe dream.
Yes, I agree.
Out of all the people involved in this, it's one person's pipe dream.
Right. Really, the big target for us is going to be the public water supply.
Yeah.
Not the wastewater end of it, yeah.
I will add,
Oh,
other
Kevin.
things that came out of that
Take
meeting.
this, because I've got this electronically.
I
You
will
take that.
I'm gonna send an email to,
That's his presentation from the other night, okay?
Thank you.
Alan, I'll send you a copy as well.
Okay.
That's for the PowerPoint presentation from Board and
Do you actually have the PowerPoint?
Yeah,
Could you send that to me as well?
I will. Yeah, I will.
I'm great at borrowing imagery.
I will send, the other topic that came up, and it keeps coming up, and we never
Yep.
fully answer it, is the existing system.
Yes.
So I started drafting an email with all the numbers. I'll send to you guys and Woodward and Curran, so they can make sure they have the right numbers, because I think the they did their phase one, they just looked at a math, and did a mathematical calculation of the theoretical demand of the Cape Road system.
Yeah.
But I think because it's a system and we have the data, we want to make sure they have the correct numbers,
Okay.
especially like these gas stations, is future use.
Came off.
But I know, because Vin keeps asking and then we don't have the numbers, so I'm sending them all the data so they can analyze it.
It'd be nice to just have them on a piece of paper you can carry around with you.
Right here.
I do have a little binder at home with all our factoids in it, so.
Well, I think Woodward and Curran needs to do a deep dive on this and make sure they're not double counting things, but
Yeah.
because I believe the idea is phase one is locally supplying the existing customers
Yes.
and then growth from there.
No, well, phase one also included all of 16.
Okay, yeah.
All of 16
And
and existing customers. Phase two was Providence Road and further down, which is kind of good. That's where the well, this potential well is going to be. But then phase three is where the tank is, up off of North Road.
you know,
So,
I was just thinking, getting to phase one would be 10 years out or more longer.
you're looking at 20 plus years, Kevin.
I'm dead.
Both.
I'm older than you. I won't be here.
But still, we're passing this on. We started, the people that initiated the Quabbin
Well,
Reservoir.
yep.
Were able to see it.
The way I look at the study is we have some, A, somebody gave us the money, B, we have some experts looking at it, and C, it replaces what we were trying to do with our limited knowledge, resources, and board time. So, I salute the guys who went and got the money. I'm grateful to Representative Brian Murray and Mike Morali, the Board of Selectmen, for going after this. And it may come to pass or it may not, but at least, we're moving the
We are, and like you
thing
just
ahead.
pointed out too, it's one of the requirements that we have, one of the agreement with Hopedale is to keep seeking out our own sources, so.
I mean, how many times can we go back and say, we asked every town and they said no?
Right,
At least we're getting proactive here in a different way.
yeah.
Okay, update on Cape Road contract.
I have no news, Jack. They were trying to set up a meeting with Hopedale, but it was Hopedale's town meeting.
Okay.
Then like I said, I'm trying to connect with Jack to find out.
Okay, so no news there, good.
Okay, customers and billing, because I know Finn is not feeling well and would like to leave. FY '23 liens update.
Just
They're on-
leads,
they're on the
letters were
bills?
sent out, they were sent to Gene, processes.
Okay, so
happening.
they're on the final bills.
Um,
Yeah, actually, I signed that commitment yesterday. Oh,
Yeah, and I gotta send, oh, actually, I don't have the dollar amount. We should probably take a formal vote to send a memo to Gene to, here, give me a second, I just sent it to Gene in an email.
Mayor Allen, could one of you make a motion to formally approve sending the liens to the assessor?
I
Three of them.
move, yeah, okay, great, good.
Unanimous? Taken care of, Dan?
Yep.
31 Bates sample location.
Yep, so this is Mike Moroli's house, just to be transparent. So that is one of our sample spots on Bates Street.
Yep.
There's been a bunch of back and forth over the last 2 years with Whitewater, because he doesn't have a frost-free spigot.
Okay.
So in winter, he's got to call ahead and have Mike turn the water on so it doesn't freeze and turn it off. So the recommendation is that he install a frost-free spigot and that potentially we pay for it because it's really for our sampling of our water.
I got no problem with that.
The total cost was $155. It would be a reimbursement. And I was kind of thinking, but we have paid for,
What would be a reimbursement?
so Mike paid for it to get it done. 'Cause
Oh, we
the plumber
did?
was already there. So
It's already in?
we were just going to pay the plumber directly, or we could just reimburse him, so he ended up just doing it the other week.
Okay, so we need a motion to
So he's
reimburse Mike.
asking- Right, and I think there's other instances, so we paid for special fittings at the park to accommodate sampling. I mean, it's not.
Oh, I got no problem with the reimbursement.
All
I
right,
don't care whose house it is.
I move to reimburse Mr. Morelli for the plumbing work that was done at his house to provide us for a water sample location.
Second.
Unanimous vote.
Good.
Okay. Anything else?
I think, so I put on the agenda just that the budget stuff, but maybe we don't need to get into that now.
When does
Still
the budget stuff due?
No idea. I have yet to receive any communication, so I started just working on it. I don't think there's anything monumental. I think we're basically going to put forward I would suggest a fairly level budget with minor increases, and that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
Okay.
wouldn't flatline
I
anything.
don't know if I mentioned this, but I'll just, for the record, so fiscal year '23, we closed with a surplus of $30,922.60. So that is the current fund balance, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
So that's good news.
Well,
How are we doing on the 24 budget right now?
Oh, yeah, so in currently to date, FY '24, we are positive $6,300, and we're about at the halfway point, so I think everything's on track.
Okay, good.
We spent half our water, we've got 2 quarters, we've collected half our money.
And you said you started the draft of the 25 budget already?
I started a draft.
Okay.
good.
Good.
Basically,
Okay.
no.
I have one question for Timmy. Timmy, you still here?
Yes, sir.
Tim, that meter we talked about, I don't know, that fell through the cracks. Did we resolve that matter?
No.
Which one?
The six-
Westcott Road, you never gave me the access to the reading remotely.
Tim, I'm talking about the master meter that we replaced, and then Hopedale came and took the meter that we paid for.
I'm sorry, and what about it?
No, it was supposed to be returned to returned to Mendon, because we paid for that meter. That 6-inch meter that we put in up off, what was the location on that, Dan? Dudley Road, yeah.
So
You and I
I'll get back.
Tim, you and I
Yeah,
talked
no,
about this a while ago.
I agree. You're refreshing my memory. I will
Okay.
look into it first thing tomorrow and review the contract, and we'll go from there. At the same time, you still haven't given me access to remote reading on the meter that was replaced.
So,
That was supposed to happen the next day.
yeah, I'm trying to work with Highway to coordinate a time to get in there and install the tech. That's where we've stalled out. I talked to John, we were gonna have somebody, and then it's just, I haven't had the time. We have all the parts, it's just a matter of plugging it all
So
in.
we're not even reading it remotely right now either.
No. you just
So
wanna-
we're 3 or 4 months into this.
Fine.
Right.
I also, John may have a price on a composite lid that will work better with the antenna.
Okay.
We met some vendor at an
Okay.
expo. He was supposed to.
Curious question that's
Okay.
backed up a little bit.
What?
I have a question that backs up a little bit. If we get our water source, is it possible to service Milford Street by pumping water in on the Cape Road system and letting Hopedale take it out on the other end? That is, say, basically, no construction is needed for Milford Street.
That's an interesting thought.
It's an interesting thought, but I think we're 10 years early on it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Anything's theoretical, Alan.
I didn't even think of that, yeah.
Well, that makes a difference of, a couple $1 million in the cost.
True. I think if we ever get to the point where we're going to do phase 1, that should be part of the discussion.
Yeah, I will try and close the loop on that Dudley meter. It's just,
Okay.
it's one of those things that just keeps getting kicked down the road.
So who are we working with Ty Sales on getting this resolved, or?
It's a whole, so Ty Sales does not do any physical, they're just the salesperson.
But now that John's been formally named highway surveyor,
Yeah, I just think it's a timing issue. It's not a,
but can you impress upon him that we want to do it before the snow flies?
yeah, it's not, it's me, it's not John. It's trying to schedule it, find a time that everybody's available. We can take a whole
Right.
day, put everything in the car, go over
And,
there,
and
pump
to
the water
Tim's
out.
question though, as soon as that goes live, then we'll
Right, it'll all be linked up
to
in
Tim
the
as well.
software system.
Okay.
Yeah, as best I understand it, anyone who needs access to the data is just gonna have a login. They log into the portal and it's all right there.
Okay. So Tim's not gonna need any special type of receiver?
Nope.
It's just a matter of logging into a portal, so it's all web-based?
Okay, but could you touch
Okay.
base with John Dudley now and just
Yeah, I'll follow up with him, we'll get this done.
say, we have a unique opportunity between now and the first snowfall to get his guys, because I got a feeling, once the first coating hits, they'll be flat out for the rest of the winter.
Well, if it's just a matter of replace the cover, there's not gonna be anything.
It's
related
more,
to
we
the
gotta
road.
pull the cover, pump the water out, get in there, plug everything in, screw
Right.
it into the, it's sitting on the floor of my garage currently.
Okay,
Because I had all the stuff, but then we had to flush the hydrants.
Yeah, but
They were
I-
having issues with bad, not great
I think-
HHA
I know, what I think,
results.
so is the pit flooded now?
The pit holds water, collects water.
Oh, it does, okay.
but I think Tim's got a valid point. If we're 3 months into it, I don't want to go 5 or 6
Yeah.
months into it.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, things have a habit in a small town with minimum help of getting
Yep.
lost due to nobody's intent, but they do.
Right.
So, the next meeting normally would be January 4th.
Okay.
Is everybody okay with Thursday, January the 4th?
Just a second.
I'm okay with it.
And Dan, could we have the update on that meter pit high on the agenda?
Yeah, we'll close that out. We may have an issue with the February 1st meeting date. We can deal with
We'll cross that bridge then.
We'll
In
deal with that in
January, yeah.
January. I just want to make sure we're in sync on the next one.
Okay.
My schedule has a way of filling up. You know, one day it's wide open and 2 days later, an entire month is filled up.
Right.
And I'm sure you have that where you work too.
I do, yeah. So just to inform you guys here tonight, so I talked to Dan a little bit about it, so I've got
Do
a,
you want to adjourn and then if it's.
yeah, we'll get everybody off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Leave it, Alan can stay.
January 4th is fine with me.
So we have a motion
January,
to adjourn?
January 4, Alan.
yes, that's fine with me.
Okay,
Perfect.
All right, motion to adjourn the meeting?
Alan?
Second?
Okay, we're adjourned at 8:01.